Yeah, my lighting is still bad. I guess turn that light off. Yeah, it's not working. Yeah, my lighting is real bad. Gosh. Wow. Not good at all. Let me see if this will work. Ew, still bad. Woo. All right, I gotta let these people in. What? Oh, it's better now. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you good.
Okay, I won't put on my earplugs. They haven't been really working that well. So how are the two of you?
I'm doing well.
Good, good, good. What I need to do is try to cover chapter 16 and 17. And then next week is our last meeting, and then I'll go over marketing. So let's see if we can get through this information. And let me go in here, go to my modules. And go to chapter 16. All right. And chapter 16 is on performance improvement. Okay. Performance improvement, big area when it comes to the food service industry for many reasons. And then I'll point out why it's important because we just left our chapter as far as interviewing, making sure that we have clear specifications so that when someone applies for the job, they are aware of the criteria, what are the skills, what are the experiences, the educational preparation that's needed in order to apply and be, considered for that position. From there, the interviewing and just making sure that, as a interviewer, you're asking the right questions in order to assess whether that person actually has those skills, the abilities. Are they trainable? Because again, there's training involved. And again, you don't want to bring someone in your organization that never had the skills, the aptitude to begin with. Then you're going to fall into problems with performance. And you expect someone's performance to improve over time. And performance is something that has to be constantly assessed. We're going to talk about how do we measure performance. That's very important because you need to have data on, how much time it takes someone to complete a job, how efficient is that job, rating the quality of work. All of this we need to have data on. And why is it important? Because it has been predicted that performance improvement will be the biggest and the toughest challenge facing managers during the next few decades. I just got finished listening to the news, and they were talking about in the state of New York, also New Jersey, they're opening up our dining facilities. So restaurants are starting to open. I believe it's targeted for the 15th or the 19th of this month. Um, and this is a challenge for them. They are excited that they're going to open, but they can't open the way that they closed. So hopefully during this year, and we'll say that it's been about a year, maybe even a little bit more for some of our dining facilities, that they have studied, at least going in there, looked at their menus, looked at, some of the skills and abilities that, their workers will need when they come back. Uh, there's definitely increased production with less human effort has been another objective in the food service industry. So technology has done well in the food service industry as far as our equipment is concerned. And I can really compare the equipment we had 30, 40 years ago compared to equipment that we have now. It's quite amazing, all of the energy efficient equipment that's easier to clean, equipment that can be now maintained, but we do have some durability issues. It just seems like some of our older equipment lasted longer. I think it's the materials that they were made out of that were more durable. We are seeing some plastic in the industry, durable plastic, but not as durable as some of the materials that they used in the past. A lot of this is to make it more energy efficient. We're definitely, and I know some of you can name some items that you've bought in the last year or so and said, oh my gosh, yeah, I bought this to last a little longer. My thing is the knobs on your ranges. They get hot, you have an oven underneath, the knobs start to melt and I don't know, break, and you have to get new knobs. I find that refrigerators aren't built. These are the ones in our homes. In the industry, they're doing okay, but I still don't think that they have the lifespan that equipment used to have. Performance is a measure of the results of the outputs achieved. And we talked about inputs being all of your resources, and resources would be your employees. You're putting in money, you're putting in new equipment, you're putting in food, everything that you have to purchase and pay for is an input. And what you want is to measure that input compared to your output. Are you getting the returns on your money? If you look at paying an employee, someone, maybe a chef, and you decided to pay them a certain hourly rate or a salary, and you want to make sure that this chef is efficient and that the output is worth that input. You want a return on your money, and return on money adds up to a lot of things: efficiency, accuracy, customer satisfaction is definitely an output. So you can measure customer satisfaction. You can measure your budget, what you budgeted for, and what were your actual expenses. So as we move from this chapter on performance improvement, we move to budgeting, which is our financial management in chapter 17. And of course, marketing will also tie into what we're talking about. Therefore, performance improvement is systematically making changes to enhance organizations' desired results. So the bottom line is, whatever your inputs are, you want to make sure that your output is that there's an increase. Just like you pay for your food, you want to be able to sell that food and be able to bring in a profit. You also want to be able to profit on your employees. So you don't want to be paying them a salary and it not giving you a return on your outputs. Quickly, some key concepts. And when I go through some of these key concepts, I'm actually covering the material. And total quality management, TQM, is a management process that originated in Japan. And it's been around for a long time. Here in the United States, maybe some of our high-end companies have tried TQM. It's a process that's very, we talked about self-discipline when we were talking about our employees taking on responsibility, and you're not having to micromanage them and tell them over and over again and everything they do, well, now do this, now do that. You want them to be able to think, do some problem solving. And TQM, we're going to talk about the advantages of using this process. It is coordinated to ensure that the company consistently meets. So we just got finished talking about meeting a certain outcome. So that certain outcome will be consistently met. It exceeds the quality standards as set by customers and other stakeholders. So exceeding those quality standards is what you really want to do. The more you exceed those quality standards, the more of a output you're going to definitely get a high returns when it comes to output. So we're going to come back, talk about TQM. It's probably one of your best outcomes process when it comes to performance. A lot of training. It's worth the time and effort. It's just getting a buy-in from everyone in the organization. Because some people say, oh my gosh, this is too much work. This is too much work. But the end results are very, very positive. Here are some processes that I have used in many settings, and this is the PDCA. It's a more simplistic process. It's continuous. So is the TQM. That's continuous, because no process are you going to implement and say, okay, we improved it. Now we don't have to worry about it again. No, you constantly evaluate a process. So it's continuous quality improvement model consisting of logical sequence of 4 repetitive steps. That's what makes it so simplistic, is that there are 4 steps and you're repeating those steps over and over again. And by repeating these steps, your employees start to get used to it, and it becomes a practice that's incorporated in their day-to-day workplace. So you plan, and before you, of course, your plan would come from something you identified that needs improvement. Say, for example, I taught food service rotation earlier today, and we were talking about our simulations. and we were talking about identifying items on a menu that aren't selling, that aren't moving, people aren't ordering on a regular basis. So the plan would be to focus on one or two items where you can really only focus on one at a time, and you focus on that item, that you set up a plan on how you can boost the sales of that item on the menu. Then you do it. Then you check it. And when you check it, you have data. You've got to be able to look at your data of how many sales before you started your plan and you put it into action, you started doing it. Now you look at the results. Are the sales increasing? Are more people purchasing that item that's on the menu? And then, of course, act is to, you check it. And if you check and you see that those sales are improving, maybe you want to act to make this more of a permanent process. Or you check and it's really not, the results aren't what you want them to be. Then you want to act, do something else that is going to possibly increase those sales. So again, and then it's a cycle. So you constantly plan, do, check, act, plan, do, check, act, and it's just a cycle. Now the Six Sigma is very highly disciplined, okay? And is approach to performance improvement that helps organizations focus on developing and delivering near perfect products and services. The Six Sigma is definitely used in a lot of our corporations that are producing products. So if we look around our home, look around, there are products all over us, everywhere you look. And how do companies make sure that that product comes out the same every time? So they're using a process such as the Six Sigma, where they have to be able to find out what equipment that's designed to help them produce that product. There's going to be features on that equipment that is going to monitor time, is going to monitor temperature, is going to monitor pressure. I mean, whatever it takes to regulate different factors that that will affect the outcome of a product. So that's where technology has really helped the industry out, not only the food service industry, but when it comes to the production of cars, production of just about any product that that is out on the market. I love the TQM. Again, very, what would I say, detailed, very disciplined. I think the biggest thing is for everyone to learn the different key result areas. So so you would first identify the key result areas. What areas of this product do you want to improve? Say it's looking at the menu and you're looking to increase sales. So the key result areas would be to increase sales. The key performance indicators would be to be able to track those sales, be able to see, get an accurate count of how many people are ordering that particular item on the menu. Baseline and benchmarking measurements, you would look at the overall industry. For us, we would check data from the National Restaurant Association and according to their baseline and benchmark measurements, you would try to get your sales as high to, to that marker as you can, because you have to be able to compare your sales to other restaurants in the industry. And so you would go to a national association that can track data. Brainstorming initially is definitely coming up with ideas and thinking out of the box. And the fact that you have a team of experts, and you need someone on your team that is an expert in so many different areas. Because you may be on the team, but that may not be your strong suit. It just may not be. You want someone on the team that is strong in the areas that you may not be strong on. And definitely that's brainstorming, where people can just come up with different ideas and different approaches. We're going to be looking at some of the flow charts and check sheets and cause and effect diagrams and Pareto charts and scatter diagram and histograms and social economic. Well, these are basically your different charts, how you're going to collect data, and then how are you going to put the data into different formats, different charts. So it's very important. This chapter also helps us understand research a lot better, because these are some of the instruments that we would use to not only collect, but to be able to display the differences before your plan and then your final results. You need data. Without data, nobody really wants to listen to you, because you're saying, oh, well, if I advertise certain items on the menu more, I'm going to increase the sales, and I increase the sales. You've got to show the data that actually that advertisement was the reason why you increased sales. So again, data is very important. Social technical systems, we're going to look at some of those: statistical process control, just in time, and the use of the ISO 9000 standards. So again, these are certain standards that we're going to look at. Productivity, again, what is productivity? To measure the level of output of goods, products, and service rendered in relation to input in terms of, and we just got finished talking about that. You have inputs. May it be labor, your employees' hours, how much money you're paying a person, to the foods that you purchase, to how much food you're purchasing. So these, again, are your way of looking at your input and measuring the output. So productivity is a measure or level of output of goods produced or services rendered in relation to input in terms of time. You definitely want your outputs to outweigh your inputs. Think about it. Outputs must outweigh your inputs. Labor hours. You're paying your employees a certain amount of money. You don't want them to put in extra hours and time, because that's going to run your labor cost up. So you definitely want to be able to cut the amount of time they're spending if they're an hourly worker. minutes or days. This is all time. Money spent. Time is money. You've heard that before. Time is money. So again, and other resources used. So whatever your inputs are, you want your outputs to always be valued much, much higher. This goes back to motivation when we were talking about leadership. And I've been using this food service management book for a number of years, and I've been through quite a few editions. And I think it was the edition prior to this one is when they added quality of work life. And at first I said, what is QWL? And I said, okay, they are now using the fact that when it comes to performance improvement, how can you improve your employees' performance if as a manager, you have not looked at the workplace environment and made sure that whatever you're doing is going to increase productivity. So quality of work life is a term that has been used to describe values that relate to the quality of human experience in a workplace. And we definitely talked about that in chapter 14, because we said if somebody's working long hours, or if it's a piece of equipment that just keeps breaking down, or it's not easy to clean. So we can look at so many factors that can interfere or create a negative work experience. So as a manager, you look at what could be negative and how we can improve the environment. When it comes to QWL, it's affected by a composite of factors on the job, including factors relate to work itself, to work environment, and to employee personality, meaning that we have to hire. We talked about hiring. We got to make sure that we're hiring competent, qualified workers that, again, that can definitely create a negative workplace if the employees themselves are not hired, trained properly, making sure equipment is in good repair. We have a budget for replacing equipment, because sometimes, again, we've got to keep up with the industry when it comes to efficiency, when it comes to just being able to make sure that we're following safety and sanitation codes, because sometimes it's the equipment that is causing us to not keep the proper temperatures of food, or the equipment is rusted, or it's just breaking down. It's time to replace. Goals of work design are to improve the content of the job, to provide safe and healthy work environment, and to design a staff of fit people, an optimum work environment, and work simplification. This is saying a lot. So if you look at all of these areas, we can definitely meet that quality of work life. Fundamental principles of motion economy. We're going to be looking at some different ways of making sure that when we train our employees, we're training them to be more efficient, to make sure that in the food, and I'm sure it's with other industries, but I've seen it in the kitchen. I see people literally working backwards. Let me give you a prime example. You can have someone go get a clean a cutting board, put it on the counter. They go get their produce and they put the produce on the cutting board without washing the produce first. Yeah, emotion economy. Now they've got to take the produce off of the cutting board, take it to the sink, wash it, and re-sanitize the cutting board. And I'm like going, oh my gosh, you know, the cutting board was washed, rinsed, and sanitized. Go take the produce over to the vegetable sink, wash your vegetables, okay? Yeah. So all of this, and it's with everything that you do in the kitchen. I'm sure Amanda and Dance, there was a lot of motion economy, wasn't it? Oh yeah, she's shaking her head, yeah. And you can actually see somebody say, oh no, you know, they're not keeping up with the music because they made an unnecessary movement. I'm not a dancer. My daughter took dance for many years.
Something as simple as like a lot of the times for people, like if you were an apprentice or in like the second company, you weren't necessarily cast in something, but you were like learning it. So if one day someone is sick or someone's missed rehearsal for whatever reason, anyone on the side gets thrown in. So if you get thrown in and you don't know what you're doing or you're messing up the choreography, it's not too good for you.
No, and it's about motion, isn't it? Yeah. Someone took an extra step or someone didn't put enough force into a movement. I mean, we have things in the kitchen. We need to do things in the proper sequence. And then some people say, well, what's wrong with the way I'm doing it? I said, well, it's taking you a lot longer. And they say, and then after you show them, you say, oh yeah, I see. I said, yeah, you had to make like 12 different motions and I did it in 4. Yeah. So again, we train people. Methods that can be used when conducting a productivity improvement study include work sampling. So work sampling is, I don't know, just washing lettuce, okay? And we look at 3 different people washing lettuce, and we can time and get an average time it takes to wash lettuce. So timing, we can get a timing on just about every job in the kitchen. How much time should it take you to chop up so many onions or carrots or whatever it may be? Pathway or flow diagrams, that's showing sequence. You do this first. We also talk about using both hands. You would never want to put one hand in your pocket and then just use one hand. Both hands are in motion. And you actually get a rhythm going, and you look at people and you say, oh, look how fast they're doing that, because each hand has been trained to do a certain thing. And again, with practice, and accuracy is increased, operation and process charting, and also micro motion studies. So these are all different ways of studying and determining the best and the most efficient way of doing a job. What is productivity? Measure of output of goods and services in relation to input of resources. In the food service organization, productivity is measured using indicators such as meals per worked hour, paid hour. And we did some of this when we calculate FTEs. FTEs is definitely a measure of productivity. How many hours do you need to schedule per day, how many hours need to be worked in a week, a month, a year. These are all indicators. Meal equivalents per worked hours or paid hours, and transactions per worked and paid hour. So there are so many different areas in the kitchen that we are able to have indicators. FTEs happen to be one, but we can determine how many meals per employee, how many meals per chef can they put out on a daily basis. If you have 500 meals you have to get out each meal, you now have to determine how many chefs you need to produce that food for 500 meals. These are all indicators. A management process and set of disciplines that are coordinated to ensure that the company consistently meets, exceeds the quality standards set by customers and other stakeholders. Without data, you're going to be all over the place. You have to have standards, not only to make sure that you're able to maintain adequate productivity, but in your absence, as a manager, you're not there 24/7. You may have somebody that needs to step in your absence. They need to be aware of this data, and they just can't, because employees sometimes, knowing when there's someone new, they might say, we can sort of slow down, okay? Because this person doesn't know how much we should be producing over a certain amount of time. So again, there's a lot of reasons why we need to make sure these indicators are there. Going back to QWL, an approach to management that takes into consideration the quality of human experiences in the workplace. And this definitely takes us back to our chapter on leadership when we talked about motivation. And it reminds of your Hertzberg dual hygiene, where yes, we know employees have a certain responsibility to make sure that they are motivated, they're taking on their responsibilities, but management, the workplace, has a responsibility to make sure that that quality of work is up to par. This is a 14 points of TQM, and quickly just review them. Are you going to have to memorize these principles? No. TQM is something that is a process that you would have a policy and procedure on, and you would just constantly go back to that policy and follow the procedures. And again, it's something that eventually you'll get your entire organization, participating in. It's very participatory, meaning everyone takes a part in TQM. That's what makes it so successful. It creates consistency of purpose. This purpose, everybody takes part in the purpose. Everybody knows the purpose. You can adapt a new philosophy. Every organization has their philosophy, and philosophies don't generally change, but philosophies can change, especially I mentioned I was listening to the news about restaurants, starting to open, fully open. Some of them have changed their philosophy. They have been able to identify a new, maybe niche, something that is needed in their community or in society in general. So they've taken on new philosophies. One way of getting your employees adapted to a new philosophy is that they've got to all have a part in it. You can't just say, oh, we have a new philosophy, and then expect them to all of a sudden implement this philosophy. It doesn't work that way. You've got to be able to clearly show them what that philosophy is, and everyone is trained to take a part into it. It ceases dependence on mass inspections. This goes back to that micromanagement. When you are constantly monitoring and checking, that can be exhausting, number one. It takes you away from other responsibilities, jobs that you can be doing. And by ceasing that dependence on mass inspections, you're putting the responsibility back on your employees. Their self-discipline. They check behind themselves. They'll have a checklist. They'll document information. And if that documentation does not meet that, it's not within the acceptable limits, then they bring it to your attention. So you don't have to keep checking and checking. They'll let you know if something is not accurate. Therefore, you can draw your attention to it. In the practice of awarding business on the basis of price tags alone, again, a lot of restaurants tend to want to award their employees if the sales are up. But you can reward your employees on other indicators of I don't know, certain menu items moving on the menu that weren't normally being purchased. So you can just come up with so many other ways to measure competence, and not always looking at your bottom line, looking at revenue. Improve constantly and forever the system of production and service. So what it is that you're making changes that are going to stay in place over a long period of time because of the fact that everyone is responsible for making it happen. So it's not just management working on it, it's everyone in the organization. Institute training. So training is ongoing. I mentioned earlier that if for some reason, something is not within that accepted criteria, now, let's look at training. Let's see if we need to retrain, or if it's someone that isn't doing something consistently. Adapt and institute leadership. With TQM, everyone takes on leadership responsibilities. Everyone. You could be in the dish room and you're running the dish machine. You are the leader in that area. You have checks to make sure that the plates and dishes and everything is clean. It doesn't come out, go into production where people say, oh, these pots and pans are dirty, these plates are dirty. That definitely is a lot of wasted time and energy when you're redoing something. You want it to be done correctly the first time. You don't want to be repaying people for jobs that should have been done correctly from the very beginning. It drives out fear. And that fear is because if we go back to discipline, if we go back to when you appraise or you give someone a performance review, they are evaluated on a daily basis. They're always being evaluated because TQM has evaluation already incorporated. So you're constantly checking. They're checking themselves. If their check indicates that something is not working properly, then they bring it to management's attention. And then we can backtrack to see what area is, where are we creating errors? So again, it does drive out fear because nobody feels that it's pointed directly at them, that we're going to be looking at all areas, because it may not be that the dishes are dirty because the dishwashers didn't do their job properly. It could be the water temperature, okay? It could be the products that you're using in the machine. So it could be a number of other factors, but TQM, you're able to look at all aspects. It breaks down barriers between staff areas. It really breaks down barriers because we talked about that holism. TQM creates holism. It eliminates slogans, extortions, and targets for the workforce. Again, yeah, nobody sort of calls it, no one thinks that someone else's job is less important than theirs. Let's put it that way, because you tend to, start nicknaming areas, and sort of belittling. Again, that doesn't happen with TQM. Some additional points would be eliminates numerical quotas for the workforce and numerical goals for people in management. Again, there aren't quotas. We're just looking at the smoothness and that flow of work, because we're looking at so many different factors other than sales. Because again, we're not going to again reward people based on sales alone. We're going to reward them because of other factors, other indicators of success. Remove barriers that rob people of pride of workmanship. And that goes back to nobody feels that their job is more prestigious than somebody else's job. Encourages education, self-improvement for everyone. Take action to accomplish transformation. Transformation is really where we want to be. There's transaction. Transaction is just looking at what people are doing and then acting on it. People don't do it right, then you're just going to tell them, do it correctly. Transformation is what TQM does. Everyone monitors themselves. They have to keep records. They have to document things. So management just looks at your documentation real quick. So it's not management documenting everything. It's putting responsibility back to those workers that are working in those areas. They will keep the data. They're expected to be able to interpret the data. Therefore, they can make some changes when they see that certain data is not within the proper ranges. They'll say, oh, we're not doing such and such. So let's make sure, we're checking the water temperature or something of that nature. When it comes to TQM, there are 5 major subsystems. It's very customer focused. So when it comes to anybody thinking their job is more important than another, you always say, we're focusing on the customer. And what everybody does has to do with customer satisfaction. A strategic approach to operations. So strategic is that you just break down all the parts of operation. And by breaking it down, you're able to measure each part of the operation. So when you see indicators that something's wrong, you can pick up on improper temperatures, you can pick up on time management that is taking more time to complete certain jobs. So there's so many different indicators that you can quickly look at the data and say, wow, this data is off, it's increased or it's gone down. Commitment to human resource development. You've got to be committed to human resource development. You've got to train, you've got to send them to workshops. A long-term focus is not short-term. You look at everything and say, what do we want to have achieved in 3, 4, 5 years from now? So you look at, changes so that you will be where you want to be in 5 years. Total employee involvement, I can't just, emphasize that enough. Everyone's involved, everyone, all departments. If you're looking at a large hospital, you're looking at the maintenance department, you're looking at housekeeping, you're looking at the dietary department, nursing department. I mean, every department has a role in TQM. To be an effective TQM manager, 5 key competencies have been identified. This is that manager must have the ability to develop relationships of openness and trust. So management have to have good leadership skills, build collaboration and teamwork, manage with statistical tools and quality processes based on collected facts. That's going back to the data. So you're not just, saying things and generalizing and assuming. You have data to indicate why certain things are working and why things need to be improved. When it comes to that, you must also have the ability to support results through recognition and rewards. So yeah, there are incentives, but incentives come in so many different ways. Everyone is rewarded and recognized based on their job and abilities. And everyone feels that they have earned their rewards because they can see how they earned it. They're going to look at indicators and data and they'll say, look, the time has reduced. You're getting the meals out a lot quicker. And therefore, you can reward them for that. Create a learning and continuously improving organization. Everybody has to always have that mentality that there's always room for more improvement. The sky is the limit, meaning that it's an ongoing process. I touched bases early with the PDCA, Plan, Go, Check, Act. So you can look at this a little closer. Very easy to implement in any food service operation, small or large. This is where I would tell most food service managers to begin. If you need to have a quality assurance program in your food service department, at least implement the Plan, Do, Check Act, because you can definitely look at your data before, and when you check, you can collect the data, and based on that data, you can act on it. And you have documentation. The bottom line is you need to have data, something that's documented. You can't just say, oh yeah, we study things. Where's your study? Where is it on paper? Definitely, that is an easy process. The Six Sigma, again, these are for larger operations, bigger organizations, highly disciplined, performance improvement that helps organizations focus on developing and delivering near perfect products and services. You will find the Six Sigma in places like maybe Burger King or McDonald's, the franchises. That's how they're able to, you go to one Pizza Hut, the pizza tastes the same no matter where you go. You go to one Olive Garden, you should basically be able to get basically the same items on the menu. It tastes the same. So these companies make sure that is near perfect, and their services are the same. It's all about training. It's all about specifications. This is a diagram of Six Sigma. You need to define, then you need to measure, analyze, improve, and then control. So it's a very, it's not as easy as your previous plan, but this is what a lot of our corporations use when it comes to McDonald's and, Pizza Hut and your franchise operations. The Lean Six Sigma is like this Six Sigma. They added the alleviation of waste. So again, you can be following the Six Sigma, but are you focusing on waste? So the Lean Six Sigma added the goal using the correct concept, tool, technique to improve quality, cost, delivery in a waste-free environment. So remember, the waste-free environment is the difference between the Six Sigma and the Lean Six Sigma. TQM, these are some of the symbols and indicators that they use, and I mentioned them earlier. They have a key, and they may have arrows, and the key would tell you what that symbol means. So when you're reading any of their diagrams, you get used to knowing what the symbols are. Key performance indicators such as food and service quality, financial management, human resource management, productivity, planning and marketing, facilities management. And I mean, they cover the entire food service operation, as you can see. Yes, you need to have brainstorming, and some of these definitions are in your textbook. And brainstorming, again, is a team of a variety of different people, because you need a team of ideas. You need to have people that are going to take different approaches. I was going to try to find that page. Oh, let me find it real quick here. Still in the wrong chapter. Brainstorming may not be defined. Let me see. I don't think so, because I see Six Sigma is on page 414. And then your lean manufacturing, your lean Six Sigma is on page 416. Oh, brainstorming is at the bottom, page 416, very bottom. Brainstorming is a useful technique for generating ideas. Remember I said you need a team of different people, different ideas about problems, opportunities for improvement. Check sheets are used to show exactly what is happening and how often. It is a method of collecting data based on observations and may show a pattern. So read through, it defines each one of these terms, what a flow chart is, what a check sheet is. When it comes to check sheets, again, I just defined that. Used to show exactly what is happening and how often. You have your cause and effect diagram defined on page 418, and there's a diagram of cause and effect, and it might be on my next slide. Here it is. This is the cause and effect diagram. You have a goal, and all of these are causes are things that are going to affect the goal, and then anything that is going to have any effect on that. So here's environment, morale, lighting, layout, noise, narrow aisles. So when they're looking at the work environment, materials, you're looking at consistency, the cost of material. So I've used this diagram and when I was in getting my master's program, I've had to do different research, different studies. This looks complex, but it's not that bad. You have your goal here, and you look all the areas that you need to monitor in order to achieve your goals. In each area, there are factors that you have to look at when it comes to every area. Like when it comes to methods, definitely, distance, setup time, layout, consistency, frequency, people, training is here. See, training is over here. So again, you just look at everything that you have to consider. Again, these are all the different diagrams that, what's nice is that there's a program, and it is a Microsoft program. I think it's called Access, and you can enter data and choose different charts, and it will develop a chart, a scatter diagram, so that it will actually develop it for you. Histogram, that's another way of showing different performances, different charts. Page 419 shows the Pareto chart. Your sample scatter diagram is on page 419, and you have a sample of control and run charts. You have a checklist on page 418. So again, take a look at all of your different diagrams. Increasing productivity, again, when it comes to increasing productivity, you're looking at less human effort has long been an objective in the industry. It could be less human effort because of equipment actually doing the work for the employee. Maybe it's just less physical work. It could be that you physically have to do it, but you are making sure that you're not doing extra unnecessary movements and motions. Interest in designing work systems that could convert human work practices into those done by machines. So again, when it comes to technology, has definitely helped us a lot, okay? Going back to quality of work life, in essence, it attempts to replace typical adversarial relationship. Again, we need to have a positive relationship between management and employees, and part of people being efficient is mentally being satisfied with their job. So that motivation, constantly learning, we find that people enjoy achieving, they enjoy learning new things. And again, you've got to create that work environment of constantly changing and improving. These are some productivity improvements that we just got finished talking about when it comes to quality work life. You want your employees to be to cooperate. You want them to trust. You want them to be involved. You want them to have respect, not only for management, for their job, for the organization. You want to develop a positive rapport, and you want openness. When it comes to TQM, you don't want them to be falsifying data. So initially, you would be checking data to make sure that they know whatever they record, it has to be accurate. So this is what you're developing: cooperation, trust, involvement, respect, openness. So all of that, because people can be writing down data, but it may not be accurate data. Oh, I forgot to take the temperature, so I'm just going to write this temperature in there. Yeah. You want people to be, honest and open. Work design, and we talked a little bit about that already. When it comes to performance improvement, select a job to be improved, break the job down in detail, challenge every detail, develop a better method, put the new method into effect, motion and time study. And this can involve your employees. So you're not just saying, oh, I studied your job and this is the way you're going to do it. You have those who are performing those jobs be part of that study and trying it different ways and determining what's the best and most efficient way. So this is definitely part of TQM. Just that involvement, getting them to participate, let them be part of that decision making. This is just one of the founders, Ralph Barnes, back in 1930s, valid for employee operations today. Yeah, the principles of motion economy. And I'm sure when it came to motion economy, Barnes included the employees because the employees were doing the work. So he monitored the workers, and he included the workers, saying, what if you do it this way? Will it be less time? would you be more accurate doing it this way? So again, this is how we continue with studies, work sampling, like I mentioned before. You take samplings from 3, 4 different workers. You look at how they did it, what's the time, what's the steps, and based on those samplings, you come up with the most, appropriate way of doing a particular job. Pathway chart, flow diagrams. You can take a work sampling, and once you determine the proper way of doing something, you can develop a pathway chart or a flow diagram. And I do have an example of a flow diagram. I think it's the next slide. You have micro motion studies, and you have the thirbling. These are just different ways of posting and having things at the job where people can follow. Because telling somebody, oh, you use this hand to dip the cottage cheese, and this hand you put down the lettuce, you put the cottage cheese, you put the pineapple, you need to have a diagram of that. And here we go. It is a, it's actually the, it's more of the flow diagram. Okay. And it shows that you use both hands. Your left hand does this, your right hand does that. And you demonstrate, you have it in writing, and you have people practice. And again, it will definitely improve on time, accuracy. You'll get a near perfect salad each time. So I've worked in kitchens. We have diagrams for like all of our plate setups. Okay. Application productive improvement eliminates unnecessary operations. Operations can be combined, changes in sequence of operation, improvement in design and operation, reduction of transportation, use of different products. So we're constantly looking at all of these different applications. In summary, the need for raising productivity is urgent. It really, really is urgent. So urgent, in fact, that it has been called the first social responsibility of management in a knowledgeable society. Research conducted during the past 100 years confirms that productivity can be raised and provides the information and how this can be accomplished. And that is chapter 16. Next week, our last lecture, I will and read your chapters 17 and 18. Read, so that I can quickly go over the information. And any questions? I ran over about 2 minutes, not too bad. All right. So definitely next week, I should be able to cover both chapters. Okay, but read and let me look at our, let me go home. Oh. Nope, yep, I'm there. Timeline. And the timeline is showing us that, yes, today I was able to do the performance. Next week, I'm going to have to cover 17 and 18. Tomorrow, next week, I will post your last test, which will be 16, 17, and 18. So it's the performance improvement, accounting procedures, and marketing. It will open on the 11th, and it will close on the 18th. It's after the semester, but try to, I can leave it open that long. But many of you can take it by the 14th, the 15th, okay? But I can leave it open until that time. Canvas should still be available. My grades are due on or about that time. So again, take it as soon as you can, but I'll give you a little bit more time to, you know, study and prepare for that test. All right, everyone. Take care.
You have a good one.
All right.